My mother died on a Tuesday. 3 days later, I sat in a lawyer's office and waited to hear my name. I heard someone else's instead. The lawyer's name was Richard Hayes. He had a very calm voice, which I remember thinking was probably useful in his line of work. He read from the document without any particular expression, the way someone reads a grocery list. The house, James Alderley. The savings account, $338,000, James Alderley. The jewelry collection, the car, the contents of storage unit 14B on Cloverleaf Road, James Alderley. To Dana Whitmore, daughter, pearl earrings, one cedar chest, and $4,200 from a secondary checking account. I asked him to stop. He stopped. "Who is James Alderley?" I asked. Richard Haas folded his hands. "I'm not at liberty to say." "Is he a relative?" "I'm not at liberty to say." "Is he a friend of hers? A neighbor? A Ms. Whitmore?" He looked at me with genuine sympathy, which made it worse. "Your mother was of sound mind when she executed this will 14 months ago. The document is legally airtight. I understand this is difficult." I drove home. I sat in my driveway for 40 minutes without getting out of the car. Then I went inside and I started pulling my mother's life apart. If you enjoy stories about family secrets and hidden truths, the kind that rewrite everything you thought you knew, you're exactly where you need to be. Her name was Carol Whitmore. She was 67 when she died of a cardiac event on a Tuesday morning in her own kitchen. She had called me the Sunday before, same as always, 7 p.m., same as it had been for years. She sounded fine. We talked about a book she was reading. We talked about whether I should repaint my living room. She said goodnight. 4 days later, she was gone. I was her only child. Her sister Renee was the only other living family. My father, Robert Whitmore, had died of a heart attack in 2019. They had been divorced since I was 11 and strangers to each other long before that. My mother had raised me alone, managed her money carefully, bought her small house in Maplewood outright in 2004. She worked in medical billing for 25 years. She had a book club, a church, a neighbor she walked with on Tuesday mornings. She was not, as far as I knew, the kind of woman who had mysteries. I was wrong about that. I was wrong about almost everything. The first thing I did was search James Alderley's name online. There were a few of them scattered across the country. None appeared to have any connection to Tennessee, to my mother, to anything. I called her best friend Patricia that same evening. Patricia cried for the first 10 minutes. Then I told her about the will. She went quiet. "James Alderley," I said. "Have you ever heard that name?" "No," she said, too fast. "Patricia." A long pause. "I don't know that name, Dana. I genuinely don't. But," she stopped again. "But what? Your mother changed in the last year or so. I noticed it. She seemed lighter somehow, and also sad in a way she wasn't usually. Like someone who had found something they'd lost a long time ago but couldn't figure out whether to be happy or heartbroken about it." I wrote that down. Lighter, sad, found something lost. Did she ever talk about her life before Nashville? Before my father? Patricia hesitated. She didn't talk about Harlan much. You know how she was? I did. I just hadn't understood what that actually meant until now. She grew up in Harlan County, Kentucky. Coal mining family. Father died young. She left at 21 and never really went back. That was the sum total of what I knew about my mother's first 21 years of life. She had successfully compressed 2 decades into 4 sentences, and I had let her, because that was simply how things were. Carol Whitmore kept certain doors closed. You learned not to knock. I drove to her house the following weekend. Her neighbor Janet still had a spare key. I started in her bedroom closet. There was a metal lockbox on the top shelf, behind her winter sweaters. I had seen it my entire childhood. She told me once it was just important papers. The key was in her jewelry dish. Inside, birth certificate, social security card, house deed, marriage certificate, divorce decree, my birth certificate. Normal things. But underneath all of that was an envelope, unsealed. Inside was a photograph. 2 people in sunlight, trees behind them, outdoors somewhere, summer or early fall. The woman was my mother. Young, maybe 20, the youngest I had ever seen her in any photograph. Her hair was long, which I had never seen in real life. She was squinting into the sun and laughing at something. The man I didn't recognize, tall, dark-haired, broad-shouldered, his arm around her shoulders. She was leaning into him in a way that told me something important. It said, "I am completely safe with this person." On the back, in her handwriting, Harlan, 1981, J, just the initial. I stood in her bedroom for a long time looking at that photograph. A man she trusted completely. A man whose name started with J. James Alderly. I brought it to Renee. She looked at it for a long time. Then she set it down carefully, the way you set down something fragile. "There was someone," she said, "before your father, from back home. What was his name?" She looked at me. She called him Jimmy, and there it was. Jimmy J. James. I felt certain in that moment that I had figured it out. Old lover, reconnected, guilt or old feeling or both. Money left out of whatever unfinished thing still existed between them. I thought I understood. I was completely wrong. It took me 11 days to find him. Public records, a genealogy website, a county clerk's office in Harlan that was surprisingly helpful. $19 for a background search that I told myself I'd expense to no one. James Alderly, 68, retired, living in Denton, Tennessee, about 3 hours east of Maplewood. I sat on that information for 5 days. Then I drove there. His house was a ranch-style home on a gravel road, vegetable garden on the side, wind chimes on the porch, 2 cars in the driveway. I knocked. He answered. He was tall, white-haired now, but the bone structure matched the photograph, the eyes especially. I would have known him anywhere. He looked at me and his face did something complicated. Recognition, grief, something that looked almost like relief. "Dana," he said. I had not told him I was coming. I had not told him my name. "You knew she died," I said. "Yes." "And you knew who I was?" "Yes." He opened the door. "Please come in." His living room was full of photographs. Family, children and grandchildren, holidays and beach trips. A woman who appeared in many of them, his wife I assumed, who wasn't in the house. And on the far wall, almost tucked away near the corner, one small framed photograph of my mother, young, laughing at something off camera, hair long, completely unguarded. She looked like someone I had never met. He came back with tea and found me standing at the wall. He said nothing. I turned around. "Tell me why she left you everything." He sat. He set down the mugs. He looked at his hands for a moment. "She left me the money because my wife is sick," he said. 3 years of treatments. The costs are..." He stopped. "Your mother knew. She wanted to help." I absorbed that. It landed differently than I expected. Not a lover keeping a secret. A sick woman. Medical bills. My mother, practical, careful, quietly generous my entire life. Doing what she always did. Seeing someone who needed help and helping them without making noise about it. That was real. I believed it immediately. But it still didn't explain everything. It didn't explain 40 years of silence. It didn't explain the photograph hidden under official documents. It didn't explain the way he had said my name before I told it to him. "How long had you two been back in contact?" I asked. "About 2 years." "She found you?" "Yes." "Why?" He looked up at me. "Because there was something she needed to tell me. Something she had been carrying for a very long time." I nodded slowly. And here is where I made my second mistake. I thought I knew what he was about to say. I thought, he's my biological father. I thought, Robert Whitmore wasn't my real father. My mother had a secret. This man, Jimmy, J, James, this was where I actually came from. I braced myself for it. That's not what he said. "Your mother and I were engaged in 1982, he said. "We were going to be married." "What happened?" "Her father. He didn't approve of my family. My older brother had a criminal record. In a small county like that, the whole family carries the weight of one person's choices." He paused. "He told her that if she married me, he would cut her off. She was 21, no money, no real options. She broke the engagement. She left Harlan and went to Nashville. And went to Nashville. Met your father a few years later. I sat back. So she found you to apologize? No, he said quietly. The room was still. She found me to tell me about our daughter. I want you to understand what happened to me in that moment. Every theory I had built, old lover, guilty money, secret parentage, every single one of them collapsed at once. Your daughter, I said. Yes, my mother was pregnant when she left Harlan. She didn't know yet, or perhaps she suspected. She found out after she arrived in Nashville, alone, no money, the engagement broken, her father's condition still hanging over her. He was quiet for a moment. She gave the baby up for adoption. She was 19. She had nothing. She made a decision that she lived with every single day afterward. I stared at him. She never told my father, he said. Never told her sister. Never told you. For 40 years, she carried this completely alone. And she told you 2 years ago. Yes. She said she couldn't die with it still a secret. She said he deserved to know he had a child in the world. The room was very still. Then I said, "How old?" "The baby would be 42 now," he said. "Born in Nashville, April 1983. I did the math. I had been doing the math since the word daughter left his mouth. I am 34, not 42. He could see it on my face. "It's not you, Dana," he said gently. "I know." A long pause. "But she's out there," I said. "She's out there," he confirmed. "Your half-sister. She has been out there your entire life." I sat in James Alderley's living room for 3 hours. He told me about my mother at 19, the way she made everyone laugh, how she used to sing in the church choir. She had a voice, he said, that made people stop what they were doing. How she had wanted to be a nurse before everything redirected her. I had never heard her sing, not once, not a single time in 34 years. How many versions of a person are there that their children never get to see? He told me about Margaret, his wife, the diagnosis 3 years ago, the surgeries, the particular arithmetic of catastrophic illness, how costs accumulate slowly and everywhere, like water damage inside walls, how you don't see the full extent until suddenly the structure is compromised. My mother had listened to all of this. She had called him every few weeks for 2 years. She had decided quietly to do something. She couldn't undo the adoption. She couldn't return 40 years. She couldn't fix what circumstances and one father's hard conditions had cost both of them. But Margaret was sick, and the bills were real, and my mother had $338,000 in savings, and a deep, lifelong instinct for solving the problems she could actually solve. So she solved it. I drove home in the dark. The whole way, I kept thinking about the cedar chest. She had left it to me specifically, by name. In a will that otherwise barely mentioned me, she had written, "To Dana Whitmore, daughter, the cedar chest." I hadn't opened it yet. I had moved some of her things to my storage unit the week before. When I got home, almost midnight, I drove straight there instead. The cedar chest was against the back wall. I lifted the blanket. I opened it. Inside, a quilt she had made when I was a baby. Some of my childhood artwork. A stuffed rabbit I had apparently loved as a toddler that I had no memory of. Normal things. And then, at the very bottom, flat against the cedar floor of the chest, a sealed envelope. My name on the front in her handwriting. And underneath my name, 4 words that I stared at for a long time before I opened it. To read when you understand. She knew. She knew I would go looking. She knew I would find James. She knew he would tell me. She had planned all of it. She had planned the lockbox photograph. She had planned the will that would make me ask questions. She had planned what James would say and what I would feel when I heard it. My mother, who kept things in compartments her entire life, had built one final door, and she had built it specifically for me to open. I read the letter sitting on the floor of that storage unit. I'm not going to share all of it. Some of it is mine, but I'll tell you what she said. She said she had spent her whole life trying to be the person she should have been, rather than the person she was. She said every choice she couldn't take back had made her careful, controlled, braced. She knew that wasn't fair to me, that a mother who was always slightly closed off had its own cost, and she was sorry for it. She said the money she left James was not, instead of loving me. She said she left it to him because she knew I would be all right. You have always landed on your feet, Dana. James and Margaret don't have that luxury right now. You would have done the same thing. I know you would have. She was right. I would have. She said she knew I would feel the shape of the missing piece once I heard the full truth, and she said the choice of what to do with that piece was entirely mine. James had an agency name, a reference number, just enough of a thread to begin if her daughter ever wanted to be found, or if I ever decided to look. She did not tell me what to do. I made too many choices for other people without their knowing, she wrote. I am not going to make another one. The letter ended this way. I loved you before you existed. I love you now. I will love you in whatever comes after this. You are the best thing I ever did. Not because you were easy, but because you were mine and I knew it the first moment I saw you. I'm sorry it took me until the end to say the things that mattered most. I should have said them more. I should have said them all along. Mom, 3 months have passed since that night. I still have the agency name, the reference number. They're in an envelope in the same cedar chest, next to the quilt she made with her hands. I think about my half-sister sometimes, a woman who is 42 years old somewhere, who has her own life, her own history, her own understanding of where she came from, or maybe no understanding at all. She may not know she was adopted. She may not know my mother existed. She may have spent her whole life wondering, the way people do when there's an absence they can feel, but can't name. Or she found her answers long ago and made peace with them. I don't know. Some nights I take the envelope out and hold it. I haven't opened it yet. What I know now that I didn't know 4 months ago is this. My mother was not the woman I thought she was. She was more. She was a 19-year-old girl who made an impossible choice in an impossible situation and spent 4 decades carrying it with a posture so straight you'd never know the weight. She was someone who loved fiercely and silently and imperfectly. She was someone who, at the very end, decided that silence had cost enough. She built a trail for me to follow. She trusted me to be ready when I reached the end of it. I think she was right. I think I am. If you've ever discovered something about someone you loved that completely changed how you saw them, not for worse, just different, bigger, more, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're wondering whether I'm going to look for her, honestly, so am I. Maybe I'll tell you when I know. If stories like this one stay with you the way they stay with me, the ones that get under your skin and rearrange something, consider subscribing. I'll be here every week with another one. Thank you for staying until the end. That matters more than I can say.